Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of SmartFox TV.
This is Sally Fang with some national and international news. This month, a San Antonio dog by the name of Honey was reunited with his owner after 7 years of being apart. He came into animal care services as a stray, and when they checked for a microchip, they found that he was registered to someone who had adopted him many years ago. When they called the owner about medical treatment, the owner showed up shortly after he was getting his shots. When she came, she immediately burst into tears when she saw Honey and hugged him tightly, asking if he remembered who she was. The staff were so shocked by that reaction that they had to ask her how long he'd been missing, and apparently it was 7 years. They credited the microchip for bringing the two back together. This is a great reminder that if you have a pet, it may be a good idea to have him or her registered with your local animal shelter. At 85 years old, Mark Dunachik is one of the most successful industrialists and real estate developers in New Zealand. In 2017, he not only committed $50 million to build a children's hospital in Wellington, but he also took charge in overseeing its construction. What made him pour so much time and money into this endeavor? Towards the end of World War II, Mark had escaped a prison camp and fled his homeland of Yugoslavia. With a shortage on housing, he was forced to live in a facility for the mentally and physically disabled. And that was when he realized how lucky he was to even have a place to live. The facility that he lived in at the time was built by an industrialist in the 1880s, and that influenced him to want to do something similar. He wanted to give back one day, and now that he has the means, he is doing just that. Thanks again for joining us for national and international news.
To Sports Trivia Mondays. Which heavyweight boxer has the highest knockout percentage? Is it Deontay Wilder, George Foreman, or Mike Tyson? Be back with the answer.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back from holiday break. Now, if you're like me, with this pandemic, you've been stuck at home and not a whole lot to do unless you've got cool stuff at your house. And while I've got no shortage of things to do, like fixing my house and doing regular chores, I have found myself a little bit lonely. And with all of my friends online and playing video games online, I felt a little bit left out because I honestly haven't owned a console since the mid-2000s. The last system I bought was an Xbox 360. Yes, I'm old. So I thought, well, let me do some research. Maybe I'll pick myself up a new system for the holidays because why not? We may be stuck at home for a little bit longer. Well, I found out I don't know what I'm doing. Now, to be fair, I'm not entirely clueless when it comes to gaming. I do own a Nintendo Switch, and I have played it and played many games on it. But it's been a while, and I really bought the system for my daughter, so she plays it more often than I do. And the only game I really play on there is Smash Brothers and Zelda. So I'm not entirely clueless, but I'm out of the game. So it comes down to this. It comes down to Xbox versus PlayStation, the last two systems out there that are not the Nintendo Switch. And I've actually owned both way back in the day, but they've increased by so much in terms of technology and ability that I really don't recognize as systems anymore. So what it comes down to is we need to look at specs, or at least I need to look at specs, compare that to price, and then ultimately decide, which system has the games I want. So first, let's look at the specs of each system. Looking at the specs of each system, we're going to find that they're pretty much the same. They both offer 4K resolution. They both really offer outstanding video quality. If we're talking processors, they're very similar. They both offer AMD Zen processors, Zen 2 particularly. And they also offer 16 gigs of RAM. both about a terabyte of storage, and they both, like I said, support 4K TV, and they're both about the same price. So spec-wise, they're pretty much on par. It's hard to compare the two, and they're pretty much doing the same thing. And the differences are so minimal that your average person's really not going to know. So with specs and the price being about equal, I think it's really going to come down to games. Now, I will say this, the PlayStation 5, the newest version, does have a really awesome controller. I've messed around with it in stores, but I've really, I haven't owned it. But from what I've been told and what I've seen, it is an outstanding controller, so maybe that plays a part in my choice. But ultimately, I do think it comes down to the games, and that's where it gets a little bit interesting. So when it comes down to the games, I'm a little bit at a loss because both systems offer very similar games, and many of the game companies out there that make these games, they make them for both systems. However, there are some exclusive titles to both that really, unfortunately, I want. Number one, the Xbox has the Forza Motorsport series. I'm a huge race car driving game fan. I've always loved them, and that has always been one of my favorites. But it's only on the Xbox, and similarly, PlayStation has their equivalent of Gran Turismo, another outstanding racing game that I love equally, but again, also only on the PlayStation. I can't have both. So me personally, I'm going to have to decide which game I like the better and which one my friends have more of, so that way I can at least enjoy it with them. Beyond that, though, there's not a whole lot of games outside of the racing games that are going to be on one and not the other that really affect me. There are some exclusives. PlayStation's going to get the Miles Morales Spider-Man game, which is going to be outstanding, I'm sure. And then Xbox is going to have a couple other games that are good for it as well. But for the most part, racing-wise, I have to make a choice, and this is going to be rough. There is one other major factor at play here that I've sort of casually ignored, and that is the fact that neither are in stock just about anywhere I've looked. It's the holiday season. Everyone is buying them, and they just came out, so they're extremely popular. I may not get one until January or February, but at least I can put the order in. Ultimately, it's going to come down to game selection, I believe, but I'd like to hear from you guys. So if you can, put a comment in the field. Let me know what system you think is a better one, or let me know of any games that maybe I don't know about, because let's be real, I don't know anything about the current games. So maybe you have a favorite game that you suggest that only exists on the Xbox or PlayStation. I don't know. Let me know. Until then, I'll keep you posted. I'm Chris Yates, and this has been Old Man Buys a New Video Game System.
The heavyweight boxer with the highest knockout percentage is Deontay Wilder. Wilder has a 93.2 knockout percentage. Foreman has 84%, and Tyson with 78.6%. Thank you for playing Sports Trivia Mondays.
Thanks for watching SmartFox TV. I'm Chris Yates.
I'm Kim.
I'm Sally.
I'm Tracy.
Until next time, stay foxy.
Stay foxy.